Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings for Wednesday, February the 1st. We do have a 9-game Wednesday slate, so a pretty decent sized slate for today. As always guys, we're going to go game by game. We're going to give a quick breakdown of this 9-game slate, what I do like, taking a first look on Tuesday night when I'm making this video. Before we do start with the breakdown though, as always, if you guys do enjoy these DFS videos, and if they do help you out, please hit that like button down below, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet, and if you guys are new to the channel, and if you've never checked out PrizePicks before, PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. You can sign up for PrizePicks and use my promo code NOAH. If you look at the bottom of the screen, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And for those of you that have never heard about PrizePicks, as you can see, they're more of a player prop site, so it's a little bit different than Draftkings and FanDuel and Yahoo. On those sites, you're building out a lineup, you're competing against other players. That's not the case on PrizePicks. On PrizePicks, it's just you versus their projections. They have projections posted already for some of Wednesday's games. You can see some of the props they have listed. If you see a line that you think is too high or too low, you just take more or less on a player's projection. And you have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 6 picks, and you can win up to 25x your money on PrizePicks. So if you guys want to give them a try, make sure that you sign up with that code NOAH, and you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. But let's go ahead and talk through Wednesday's 9-game slate. We'll start off with the first game of the night, Portland and Memphis. So we'll start off on the Memphis side. Looking at the Grizzlies here, do have a question mark to keep an eye on with Desmond Bane's status. Desmond Bane listed as questionable for this game. I think Bane, I'm pretty sure he did sit out their last game, if I remember correctly. I think it was like a Saturday game. He did sit out their last game. I think he's actually been out their last 2 games. So we'll have to keep an eye on Bane's status for today. If Bane does get ruled out, that's going to benefit kind of all the main guys. John Morant gets a little bit of a boost. Triple J gets a tiny boost. I don't know if Brandon Clark's role really changes too much, but Dylan Brooks would definitely get a boost. Tyus Jones would probably be in line for more minutes, and then Zaire Williams would most likely continue to start in place of Bane if Bane were to sit. Right now, assuming that Bane plays, I don't see a ton that I love on Memphis today. John Morant at 10,400, I think appropriately priced, but I will say that if Bane is out, I definitely like Ja a lot more. I think Ja's usage is going to go up. His role would be even better. He's had a triple-double now in back-to-back games. He's just been stuffed in the stat sheet lately, so if Bane's out, I do like Ja quite a bit. If Bane plays, then Ja's still fine, but I just don't like him as much. The bigs, I don't know if their role changes too much. I think Triple J gets like a tiny boost. He'd be playable at 7,100. He had a big game last game against Indiana. This is not nearly as good of a matchup against Portland, but I think Triple J is like okay. Brandon Clark, going to continue to start at center while Steven Adams is out, but DraftKings has kind of priced him correctly now. It's 6K. I think this is where Brandon Clark should be priced at. When he plays 30, 32 minutes, he's normally going to put up around like 30 DraftKings points, which at 6K, 30 DraftKings points is fine, but that's not going to like win you a GPP. So now that he's priced where he is, I'm not like in love with Brandon Clark. And then value-wise, I think Dylan Brooks, if Desmond Bane is out, I think Dylan Brooks is in play. Now, Brooks has been pretty bad the last few games without Bane, but he's playing big minutes. He's taking a lot of shots. He just hasn't been very efficient. Brooks has never been a very efficient shooter to begin with, but obviously there's going to be more usage available for him if they were to be without Bane here, and they kind of need his defense in this matchup against Damian Lillard. So I think Brooks is okay if Bane is out. If Bane plays, no interest in Brooks, but that'll probably do it for Memphis. I think that's kind of everything I see here. And then on the other side with Portland, so Damian Lillard at 10,600. I never mind going to Dame. I think he's priced correctly right now. But this should be, kind of a fast-paced, high-scoring game against Memphis. Going up against John Morant, I'm sure Damian Lillard wants to play well here. So Lillard's fine. Not a priority for me, but I think he's a playable option. The rest of Portland, Yusuf Nurkic, I think not having Steven Adams is definitely this matchup definitely is a little bit better than you would think. For what it's worth, last time they played Memphis, Nurkic went nuts. He had a 48 DraftKings points, put up a really big game. Nurkic has been a tough guy to predict this season. Some games he's absolutely crushed, and in some games he's been really disappointing. He's kind of like your typical GPP play. On a big slate like this, I don't think anyone's going to play Nurkic. So like in tournaments, I think he's okay. But that's really it for Portland. Grant and Simons, I'll pass on. Josh Hart, I'll probably pass on. It's just not too much to like on the Portland side. So let's move on to the next game, Orlando and Philly. So for Philly today, we got to keep an eye on the status of Joel Embiid. Embiid's been questionable for like I think he's been questionable for their last like 3 or 4 games, and he's played every game. So I'm expecting Embiid to play. I don't think anything's going to change here. So with Embiid most likely playing, I don't have an issue going to Embiid. The matchup against Orlando, I think, is fine. Last time these teams actually played a few days ago. Embiid had 58 DK points. He played 33 minutes. I was worried about blowout in that game, and it was looking like a blowout. And then the Magic actually, made a crazy comeback, and they actually wound up winning the game, surprisingly. If this game stays competitive, Embiid offers plenty of upside, but I don't think he's like a standout pay-up option today. Harden at 9,600 feels priced about right. I don't love him at this price tag. I think he's playable, but not a guy I'm super interested in. The rest of Philly, I'm just like, I'm not playing these guys. I haven't played, I don't think I've played Maxey, Harris, Melton at all this season when Embiid and Harden have both been healthy. Now, I've played those guys whenever Embiid and Harden have been out, but when Embiid and Harden are healthy, they dominate the usage that it's really hard for Maxey, Harris, Melton to consistently put up good games. Now, could one of them pop off here and have a good game? It's possible, but I'm probably going to pass on the rest of the Sixers. And then on the other side, looking at the Magic, so we got to keep an eye on the status of Wendell Carter Jr. This is actually some pretty big news. Wendell Carter Jr. listed as questionable for this game. Obviously, the matchup is really tough here. If Wendell Carter Jr. plays, I don't really have any interest in him. But if he gets ruled out, we would definitely see more minutes for Mo Bamba, probably some more minutes for Bol as well. I think Mo Bamba would be the guy that would draw the start in place of Wendell Carter Jr. And Mo Bamba is minimum salary $3K. Now, matchup's really tough. There's obviously foul trouble risk as well, having to guard Joel Embiid. But Mo Bamba is a very good point per minute player, and $3K is way too cheap for him if he is going to start here. So by far, he would be my favorite play on the Magic today if Wendell Carter Jr. got ruled out. If Wendell Carter Jr. plays, then I really don't like much on this Magic team. I kind of faded the Magic last slate they were on, and I'm in the same matchup, and I'm kind of going to do that today. Banchero, in the spot, I don't love. He had a really good game against Philly, but I really don't want to chase that. I don't think this is the best matchup for Banchero. Plus, again, there is kind of some blowout risk in this game, even though the Magic won last time. I don't see myself playing mini Magic here. The one guy, though, that I definitely will have interest in, at least I would say if Wendell Carter Jr. is out, the bigs I would have interest in, Bol, Mo Bamba. I think Bamba would be my favorite, though, assuming that he starts. But that'll do it for that one. Let's move on to the next game, Washington and Detroit. So we'll start off on the Detroit side. Looking at the Pistons here, the Pistons, they're a tough team to really gauge right now. They kind of run a deep rotation. They're a team that, they don't really care to win games right now. I haven't really been playing many Pistons lately. Look, Bojan, in games that are competitive, he's got a ceiling. We saw him put up, 38 Draftkings points last game against Dallas. That was a competitive game. He played 36 minutes. He has been playing pretty big minutes lately in close games. So I think Bojan's okay at 6,400. But again, I kind of feel like he's priced where he should be. He's kind of at his max price. Ivy and Bay, where they're priced at, I don't love either one. Ivy, I know, fouled out last game. He really struggled. Sadiq Bey, I think, had a pretty big game last game. He was solid, had 35 DK points in 32 minutes. These guys are playable options, but none of them stand out head and shoulders above the rest. Alec Burks is probably one of my favorites from Detroit. He's been starting lately. Minutes have been decent. He played 30 minutes last game, 27 the game before that, 30 the game before that. Alec Burks is a pretty decent per-minute producer, and when he does get 28, 30 minutes, he can easily pay off a $5,100 salary. So I think Alec Burks, assuming he is still starting, is a guy that I kind of have some interest in from Detroit. Then the matchup's pretty solid for Jalen Duren, but his minutes have kind of been a little bit all over the place lately. 27, 24, 28. He's not really getting massive minutes right now, which is what we kind of want. But Washington, they have given up some big games to centers this season. Daniel Gafford, if he plays, he's a really bad defender. So maybe Duren you could go to, but I think my favorite play from Detroit is probably Alec Burks. And then on the other side with the Wizards, it's a really good matchup here for the Wizards. The Pistons have been one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Porzingis had a really big game last game against San Antonio in his first game back from injury. Played 30 minutes, had 54 DK points. He had 17 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 blocks, and 3 steals. Just kind of stuffed the stat sheet all around. That game was a little bit of a blowout. They did win by 21. Porzingis played 30 minutes. I don't know how many minutes we're going to get from Porzingis today. If this game is competitive, I think he plays 32, maybe 33. I don't know if he gets 36, 37 minutes, which at 9K, you kind of need him to get those full 35, 36, 37 minutes. So I'll probably pass on Porzingis here. I think I'm going to pass on Kuzma as well. Bradley Beal's been really disappointing lately, but he finally had a good game last game against San Antonio. And, go figure that when Porzingis was out, Beal was terrible. And then Porzingis comes back and Beal has his best game of the season. Go figure, because that's just how it works. But Beal did go for 21, 7, and 7 and 2 blocks in 30 minutes against the Spurs last game. Now he gets another good matchup against Detroit. I don't mind Bradley Beal. I think it's 7,300 where he's priced at compared to Porzingis and Beal. Compared to Porzingis and Kuzma, I think Beal's my favorite of all the Washington guys. And then we do need to keep an eye on the status of Daniel Gafford. So Gafford was out last game, questionable today with an illness. If Gafford is out, we did see Corey Kispert start. Corey Kispert didn't really do much in the starting lineup, played 27 minutes, had 25 DK points. He's still cheap, though. It's a good matchup. I think Kispert would be viable if he is starting again. Denny Avia, though, was the guy that had the big game off the bench. He played 33 minutes, had 41 DK points. Denny Avia been pretty productive on a permanent basis this season, and I think his minutes would be pretty good here if Gafford is out. So I definitely like Denny Avia for value if Gafford does get ruled out again, and I think Corey Kispert would be playable as well. But that'll do it for Washington, and that'll do it for this game. Let's move on to the next one, Brooklyn and Boston. So we'll start off on the Boston side. Looking at the Celtics here, there's not a ton that I really like on the Celtics today. You got Tatum coming in at 11-1. You got Jaylen Brown coming in at 9,200. Both these guys feel appropriately priced for the spot against Boston or against Brooklyn. I think this is a national TV game, so big time game against Brooklyn. I'm sure these guys want to play well, but I think where Tatum's priced at, he's not a guy that I'm really slamming into my lineups today. Where Jaylen Brown is priced at, kind of the same thing. Not a guy that I love. These two guys are playable, but neither one stand out like head and shoulders above the rest. And then with Marcus Smart still out, you should see more minutes for Malcolm Brogdon, some more minutes for Derek White. Brogdon is 6,500, so he's kind of priced where he should be. We're not really getting much of a discount on Brogdon anymore, but his minutes have been really good lately. 36, 35, and then 34, 39 the last two games. Been playing a ton. I think that should continue while Smart is out. Derek White's minutes haven't been as secure, but he did get 36 last game, 28 the game before that. I think at 5,400, he is still playable on this slate. I don't have an issue going to Derek White. And keep an eye on the status of Robert Williams. So Robert Williams is listed as questionable for this game. If Robert Williams does get ruled out, biggest beneficiary would definitely be Al Horford. Al Horford would probably play all of his minutes at center. Now, Al Horford has not really been that productive on a point-per-minute basis this season, but he would play a ton. They're going to need him, I would assume, in this matchup against Claxton if they don't have Robert Williams. So wouldn't mind going to Horford if Williams is out. I think Grant Williams as well would get a little bit of a boost at 4K. He would be a playable value. And then on the other side, looking at Brooklyn. So Brooklyn's going to have some guys out today. Obviously, no Kevin Durant still. No Ben Simmons either, and no TJ Warren. So without Ben Simmons, and without KD, we can expect Kyrie Irving to have a really, really big role here. He's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. Matchup against Boston is definitely not the best, but Kyrie's just been crushing lately. The usage has been great. He's been taking a ton of shots, playing massive minutes, and his assist numbers should be even better now that Ben Simmons is out. So I think Kyrie's one of my favorite pay-up options today, kind of at first look. I definitely have interest in him, even in kind of a tougher matchup. And then Nicholas Claxton, I was pretty high on last game in a good matchup against the Lakers, and he was really disappointing. Look, Claxton's been great lately. Aside from last game, he's been crushing lately. Don't love this matchup against Boston, but if Robert Williams is out, I think that makes the spot a little bit better for Claxton, and he's playable at 8K, but on a 8-game slate or a 9-game slate, I wouldn't consider Claxton like a priority by any means. Royce O'Neal had a decent game last game. Probably going to pass on him at 5,600. He feels price counted to where he should be. Seth Curry was terrible last game, but he did start in place of Ben Simmons. I assume he'll start once again here. At 5K, he's playable, but on a 9-game slate, again, don't love Seth Curry. The rest of Brooklyn, Joe Harris, these guys I'm going to pass on. So I think that'll do it for Brooklyn. I think that's kind of everything I see here. Do want to mention that Cam Thomas had a really big game last game, and Cam Thomas is a guy that can be productive when he does get minutes. I think he was actually the first sub off the bench last game. I have no idea if that happens again, but if Cam Thomas does play 25, 26 minutes or even anywhere near that, he can pretty easily pay off 3,100. So he's definitely worth a shot if you're playing a lot of lineups. If I was playing one lineup, I don't know if I could do that in my one lineup, but for a lot of lineups, I definitely would sprinkle in some Cam Thomas because he's got upside, and without TJ Warren, without Ben Simmons, the Nets kind of need some offense right now, and Cam Thomas can provide that like we saw last game. So I don't mind him at 3,100 as kind of a GPP dart throw. But that'll do it for that game. Let's move on to the next one, Golden State and Minnesota. So this should be a really good game for fantasy. It should be a very fantasy-friendly game. Two teams that play really fast. This game should be very high scoring. We'll start off on the Minnesota side. With Minnesota today, obviously still no Cat. Rudy Gobert, I think, is questionable once again. He's been questionable for 5 games in a row. So I think we kind of have to just expect Gobert to play at this point. We'll start off with Anthony Edwards. So Anthony Edwards has been crushing lately. Matchup here against Golden State, I think, is fine. The price tag at 9,800, though, feels like we're getting to a point where Ant's kind of reached like his max price. Like now that we're almost at 10K for Ant, this does feel like a price tag that, more times than not, I would say he probably doesn't pay off this price, but he has been doing it lately. 57 last against Sacramento, then game before that 62. Again, this is a really good game environment, really fast-paced, high-scoring game. I don't mind Ant today. I just wish he was a little bit cheaper. D'Angelo Russell, been playing big minutes lately. Had a disappointing game last game, but he still played 40 minutes. He just shot the ball terribly. If we're getting like 38, 40 minutes from D'Angelo Russell on a nightly basis, yeah, he's got plenty of upside. And again, in a great game environment, I think Russell looks pretty appealing today. I like going back to him even after he disappointed last game. And then Rudy Gobert, don't love this matchup for Gobert. Like, this is a game that I could definitely see going small. Maybe Gobert gets run off the floor, but lately Gobert's minutes have been great. He's been playing like 35, 36 minutes. Again, I worry about I don't think this is like the best spot for Gobert. I think Gobert is going to struggle in these type of matchups against teams that can, stretch you out, can spread the floor. And Golden State's obviously like one of the best teams at that. Draymond, he's a good defender, even though he's a little bit undersized compared to Gobert. He's still a good defender. So don't love the matchup for Gobert, but he's going to play a good amount, I would assume. He's been playing big minutes lately. He is still a viable option at 6,800. And the rest of Minnesota, I'm probably going to pass on. Kyle Anderson, Jaden McDaniels. I think I'm gonna pass on these guys on a 9-game slate. So let's go ahead and talk about the Golden State side now. With Golden State, you got Steph at 10,300. I definitely like Steph on this slate as a pay-up option. I love this game environment for him, fast-paced, high-scoring game. The individual matchup against Jaden McDaniels is a little tough. Jaden McDaniels has been one of the better defenders this season overall, but at this point, I think Curry is just matchup-proof, and the dude can put up a huge game any night. He's been crushing lately, been playing massive minutes, and we've seen Steph be more. He's been contributing more with peripherals this year. He's not such a scoring-dependent player. He can go out there and get you 7, 8 rebounds, 7, 8, 9 assists. Last 2 games, he's had 12 assists and 8 rebounds, 11 assists and 7 rebounds. That just adds to his ceiling when he can get you, obviously any night he can score like 40, 50 points and then add on, double-digit assists, close to double-digit rebounds. He's got legit triple-double upside. I definitely like Steph on this slate. He's for sure up there with Kyrie in terms of my favorite pay-up option kind of at first look. And then Klay Thompson at 6,900, I'm fine with. In this type of game environment, I think this does set up as a decent spot for Klay. He's playable. Jordan Poole, I guess playable, but not as much interest in Poole. Draymond, I do like quite a bit. Draymond's production's been great lately. They've been starting him at center. They're going to continue to do that, it seems like. And with Draymond starting at center, his rebounding numbers have been great. His assist numbers have been really good as well. Scoring, not really going to be there, but you're getting the peripherals. You're going to get some defensive stats too. Draymond still offers triple-double upside, and I think at 6,400, he is someone that I do have interest in on this slate. Probably would rank him behind Steph, though. And that's probably it for the Golden State side. Wiggins, revenge game. Probably going to pass on Wiggins here. Don't see much interest going there. That'll do it for Golden State, I think. So let's move on to the next game, OKC and Houston. This is another one that should be very fantasy-friendly. 2 teams that play relatively fast, especially OKC. 2 teams that don't play a ton of defense, at least, Houston, not really. OKC's defense has actually been pretty solid this season. We'll start off on the Houston side. So Houston, going to have to keep an eye on some injuries here. Kevin Porter Jr. out. Jalen Green out as well. I think that's it. Şengün I did see was questionable, but I guess he got taken off the injury report. So Şengün should be back today. And, man, this spot is so good for Şengün, and especially without Kevin Porter Jr. and without Jalen Green, the offense is just going to run through Şengün here. OKC has been a great matchup for centers all season. Şengün crushed against OKC earlier this year, had 65 Draftkings points, 21, 19, and 7. Love this spot for Şengün today. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but I think the $8,800 salary is going to keep his ownership down. So he's definitely someone I like a lot in tournaments, even in cash. I think he could be viable. Really like Şengün today. Really like KJ Martin, Jabari Smith. These guys I think are viable options too. Without Jalen Green, there's a lot of usage available, and I think these guys benefit a little bit. Obviously, last game they didn't have Jalen Green or Şengün, but even with Şengün back, I still think KJ Martin and Jabari Smith are okay options. Eric Gordon, I think, gets a really nice boost without Jalen Green. We saw him have a big game last game, played 34 minutes, had 37 DK points. His price tag came up to $5,300, but I still think Eric Gordon looks pretty solid today. He's going to be one of the primary ball handlers when he's on the floor, so I do like him as a kind of a value. And then they did start, last game they did start Daishawn Nix at point guard, so I'm guessing that Daishawn Nix will start again in place of Jalen Green. Now, Nix did not do very much as a starter. He played 27 minutes and had just 16 DK points. One game against the Clippers, he played 36 minutes and had 5 DraftKings points. Is that right? He played 36 minutes and had 5 DraftKings points. I have to look that up. Like, I want to say that's like an error. Like, there's no way he played 36 minutes, had 5 DraftKings points, and took 2 shots. But I'm going to go check the box score just real quick. So that game was on November 15th. Who was out for him to play 36 minutes unless it was a blowout or something? So it looks like, yeah, he did start that game and he played 36 minutes. I must have, like, not been paying attention to NBA that day. I don't remember that game. Wow, that's crazy. So the dude played 36 minutes and had 5 DraftKings points. I mean, on a point-per-minute basis, Daishawn Nix has been pretty terrible this season, but he's only 3,500. I assume he'll start again. I think he's playable, but, God, like, he's just not been the best per-minute producer this year. He just kind of, like, he's a very low-usage player. But he is cheap, so I did want to mention him as a value play. But definitely, like, favorite plays on Houston for sure. Şengün, Eric Gordon, and then Jabari Smith and KJ Martin I think are fine as well. But that'll do it for the Houston side. Now on OKC, really, really good spot here for SGA. I think SGA made him the thumbnail for today. He's probably one of my favorite pay-up options as well. I know I've named a lot of guys, but I would definitely put him up there with Steph and Kyrie. I think it's a great spot for SGA. We've seen Houston give up big games to guards all season. They've been one of the best matchups for point guards. SGA has been super, super consistent lately. Haven't really seen like that 65, 70 point ceiling game from him yet, but I feel like this could definitely be a spot where we do get a big ceiling game from SGA. So I like him a ton as a pay-up option. I think he's very strong. And then Josh Giddey at 7,700. I don't mind just because the matchup is so good. His per-minute production has kind of been all over the place this season, but last game against Golden State did have 44 DK points in 29 minutes. Giddey has been stuffing the stat sheet this year, scoring, rebounding, and getting assists. And obviously, in a great matchup like this, there's plenty of upside for Giddey. So I don't mind Giddey at 7,700. Jalen Williams at 5,300. Probably going to pass on. Kendrick Williams at 4,600. I can maybe see going to. They did start Kendrick Williams at center last game. He did play 33 minutes and had 25 DK points. He's not the worst point per minute player. So, like, if they do start Kendrick Williams again at center, I think there is some upside for him if he starts at center. Scary spot against Şengün. There's definitely some foul trouble risk, but he is going to play a decent amount, I would assume, and he is still pretty cheap. So I think he's viable. Aaron Wiggins, I played last slate, and I totally regret it. It was such a terrible play. I can't believe I did it, but I played Aaron Wiggins last slate. He had the worst game I've ever seen, played 23 minutes, had 6 DraftKings points. Just because I know how this goes, I'm not going to play Aaron Wiggins today, and he's going to put up like 35 DK points, but he's not the best per-minute producer. It's a 9-game slate. Last slate, there really wasn't much value. Today, I'm sure there'll be way more value available, so probably not going to go to Wiggins, but I assume he will continue to start in place of Lou Dort, who is once again out. But that'll do it for that game. A lot to like in that one. Definitely those 2 games, Golden State, Minnesota, OKC, Houston. Those are 2 of the better games to target, I think, on this slate. But let's talk about the last 3 games of the night. So Sacramento and San Antonio. I mean, this is another one that looks kind of appealing. We'll start off on the San Antonio side. Keldon Johnson should continue to play big minutes, have a big role while Devin Vassell is out. Only thing you have to worry about is blowout. The Spurs are a really bad team. They get blown out a lot. But the last few games, they've been able to keep competitive enough to where Keldon plays his full minutes. Got 41 minutes against Phoenix. I think that game went to overtime. Got 34 minutes against Washington. He's been productive the last 2 games. I think this matchup against Sacramento is solid. So I don't mind Keldon Johnson today. I think he's playable. Trey Jones, minutes have not been like super high lately. They've kind of been keeping Trey Jones at like 25, 28 minutes. So like, even though his price tag's coming down, I still don't love Trey Jones at 5,600. Jakob Poeltl, though, I do like quite a bit. So we saw last time these teams played, Jakob Poeltl played a decent amount. He played, how many minutes did he play? He played 31 minutes, had 38 DK points. I think they kind of want him out there against Sabonis. Now, Poeltl this season, minutes have kind of been all over the place. He's got to avoid foul trouble, but I think if he avoids foul trouble, he probably plays close to 30 minutes, and Poeltl is a very good point-per-minute player. When he gets anywhere near 30 minutes, he can easily pay off 5,500. So I kind of like Poeltl for GPPs. Him and Keldon are my 2 favorite plays on San Antonio. Jeremy Sohan's been playing really well lately. I don't mind him at 5,200. He's been playing more minutes. Did get into some foul trouble last game, but still played 27 minutes. I think he plays probably about 30 minutes if this game's competitive. 5,200, still playable. That'll probably be it, though, for San Antonio. Keita Bates-Diop's been starting lately, but his price tag is up to 4,600. I think at 4,600, KBD, probably going to pass on him. Now, on the other side with Sacramento, really good spot here for these Sacramento guys. I think Sabonis and Fox both look appealing today. Sabonis gets to face the Spurs, a team that's definitely been a good matchup pretty much for everyone. The Spurs have been one of the worst defensive teams in the league. I know Sabonis has kind of struggled in this matchup so far this season, only putting up an average of 40 DK points through 2 games against San Antonio, but I wouldn't look too much into that. We know Sabonis is going to play big minutes. We know the production is going to be there. His production's kind of been a little bit down lately, but this does feel like a spot where I think Sabonis could really bounce back, have a good game. I do like him at 9,900. Really like De'Aaron Fox at 8,200. I think this is a great matchup for De'Aaron Fox. The Spurs have been giving up a ton of fantasy points to point guards this season. This has been one of the better matchups overall for point guards. And just in general, the Spurs team is terrible defensively. So really like De'Aaron Fox here. I think at 8,200, he is definitely too cheap for this matchup. He's probably my favorite play on Sacramento, followed by Sabonis. And then Herter, Barnes, Keegan Murray. These guys, good matchup, but like I don't think on a 9-game slate I'm going to go to anyone else on Sacramento. So let's move on to the next game, Toronto and Utah. We'll start off on the Utah side. Really nothing stands out on Utah today. There's so many other teams that are in appealing spots. I really don't see myself rostering many Jazz here. Lauri Markkanen's price tag has come down a lot, but he still feels appropriately priced, and the matchup against Toronto is not the best. Jordan Clarkson, don't love in this spot. He's 6,300, which is appropriate. If not, that's maybe a little bit too cheap for Jordan Clarkson. But again, I don't love the matchup. Don't love the spot for Walker Kessler. Even Kelly Olynyk's back, so I really don't want to play Kessler. I mean, there's just nothing on Utah that really stands out today. Utah might just be kind of a full fade for me. And then on the other side with Toronto, I think there is some upside for these Toronto guys. We know Toronto in competitive games is going to play their starters really, really big minutes. I think it's a really good matchup for Pascal Siakam. Siakam has been pretty disappointing lately, but Utah has been a great matchup for centers. So I think Siakam's in a pretty good spot here. 9,400, the price tag is coming down. Definitely like Siakam on this slate. He's probably my favorite play on Toronto. But I think Scotty Barnes and Fred VanVleet are playable as well. We know if it's a close game, those guys are playing like 38, 40 minutes. I think Preston Achiuwa is still solid. He's been starting lately for OG, should continue to start in place of OG. Point per minute production has been really good. Minutes have been strong as well. And again, Utah's been vulnerable against big men this year. So I would say of all the Raptors guys, my favorites are Siakam and Achiuwa. But I don't mind Scotty, don't mind VanVleet. Probably going to pass on Gary Trent, and I'll pass on everyone else. So let's move on to the last game of the night, the Hawks and the Suns. We'll start off on the Phoenix side, looking at the Suns here. Still no Devin Booker, so Chris Paul going to have a really big role, going to kind of be the lead guy on offense. Since he's come back from injury, Chris Paul's been great. Point per minute production has been really good. Minutes have been super high. I think this matchup against Atlanta is fine. I don't mind Chris Paul today at 8,300. I think he still has the ceiling to pay off this price tag, especially with Booker still out. Aiden at 7,800 feels priced about right. Same goes for Mikal Bridges. Neither one of those guys stand out. Cam Johnson at 5,400 on a 9-game slate. Probably going to pass on. I think I'm going to pass on the rest of Phoenix. It's really Chris Paul's the guy that really stands out from the Phoenix side. And then on Atlanta, Trae Young surprisingly did not play last game. I thought Trae Young was going to play, but he did not play. He's probable, though, to play today, so I'm expecting Trae Young back. Matchup against Phoenix, I don't love. 9,700 feels like an appropriate price tag for Trae. I think there's other guys I'd rather pay out for today. John Morant, Steph Curry, Kyrie, SGA. Those are the guys I think I'd be playing over Trae today, so not a ton of interest in Trae. DeJounte had a massive game last game, but obviously that was without Trae. Now that Trae's back, not a ton of interest in DeJounte. Clint Capella's been playing around 30 minutes a night, and we know Capella can produce when he gets minutes, but at 6,200, the price tag's gotten to a point where he doesn't really stand out. Same goes for like John Collins and Bogdan. Really don't like much from this one. Honestly, for the late night game, I don't see a ton I like here. Probably my favorite play overall in this game is Chris Paul, but I don't know if there's going to be any standout or core plays coming from this one. So that'll do it, guys, for this 9-game Wednesday slate. This should be a fun one. There's a lot of high-scoring games, or at least there should be some high-scoring games tonight. But it should be a fun slate. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, I appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit that like button down below if you guys did enjoy. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, if you have not yet, go check out PrizePicks, sponsor of the video. You guys can sign up for PrizePicks and use my promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up for PrizePicks with my promo code. Definitely check them out if you guys have not yet. But I wish you the best of luck on this slate, guys. This should be a fun one. Hope you guys all enjoy your Wednesday night. Hopefully we can all make some money tonight, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.